Welcome, everybody, to the E2KG Network's podcast, Enough to Keep Going. This is the deep dive this week on August 27th. We're almost, pretty much the end of August here. Jumping in September. We're, I guess, full swing, I suppose, into the holiday games, or at least the fall games coming up here.
Well, we have Astral Chain
Yep.
and Control Hit on PC. So
Yes. Those are coming out, and then we are obviously we already had Madden that came out, which is I guess the official start of the season, I suppose, of sorts. That other bearded gentleman that you heard and see is one Mr. Swissguard. Swiss, how are you doing tonight?
Debating with myself whether to buy Astral Chain, even though
I
I know
know.
I'm not going to have enough time to play it anytime soon. So
I think
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say I was going to be I was just going to be prudent and wait until I had some time to play it before I might buy it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be an adult again and just kind of stay off of it. Even though I've seen the reviews have been like great, 8s and 9s, so it's been up there.
And I got Control with my new graphics card, so I haven't downloaded it yet. But
Nice.
I'm excited that is looking like it's being reviewed pretty well as also. So
Yeah, it's been a positive experience, I guess, for most people. So this is episode number 108, and tonight we're going to go through our news stories for this past week, or I should say last week mostly. I didn't really see anything today that really caught my eye, so but if there's anything you want to bring up anytime at the end of the show, probably have time, so there's just the two of us, so we got about an hour or so. I'm sure we can fill that.
we'll see.
As my work, yeah, we'll see what goes on. So first up, we got some people that are leaving studios here. So the first one here is, and I guess kind of in a general sense, maybe before we get started, I don't know if this is like a super big deal with some of these. And here I gotta go full screen because my browser here is not getting this Game Informer article set out right. But now this one, I guess maybe it might be kind of a big deal. It's the creative director of Halo Infinite. He's leaving 343. This was just reported out, I believe, it's probably about a week ago, actually. You find the gentleman's name is Tim Longo, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He had the creative directorial duties for the what they're calling spiritual reboot here. He left this past week, and then they've been kind of shuffling around the kind of leadership of just kind of the whole thing, I suppose, here, as it says in the article. The executive producer now, Mary Olson, she will be in charge of the campaign team on Halo Infinite as the lead producer. So she's been there at 343 for quite a while. I didn't say how many years, it just says many years. So we'll see how that goes. And then it just kind of goes on to tell you, Longo was in both LucasArts and Crystal Dynamics. He worked on Jedi Knight, X-Wing Alliance, and Republic Commando, so where he was serving as creative director. Also on Tomb Raider's reboot of 2013, the original of the reboots, I should say. So he was there. Obviously, he's been in the game industry for quite a while, and I'm trying to see here. I think he just says he's going to pursue, kind of like in all of these articles, they're going to go pursue other interests or opportunities. So a couple of the other people, I believe, one of the Dragon Age leads, he was leaving, and also on Anthem, and I'll get to those in a second. But they kind of give the old, we're just leaving to pursue to, other interests, and we want to work on other projects. And some of them even seem like maybe they're getting out of the game industry, possibly. But obviously they kind of just give a vague, email or exit kind of a tweet or email that that are on these articles. So I mean, this one is a creative director. Like I mentioned, the lead producer of Dragon Age, he's leaving BioWare. Fernando Malo, and then we got the lead on. He was the lead producer, of Anthem. I'm trying to find his name, Ben Irving. He also has left recently, so that's two people that left from BioWare on different projects. But I'm assuming the Anthem guy maybe was possibly getting moved over to other projects, maybe Dragon Age or um, other games that they're working on, or he was just
Well, it says he left. He's going to a different company. So
yeah, yeah,
out of all of them, that's the one that surprises me the least. Uh, just because one, Anthem's been out for a while, and two, we know it had a bit of a rocky start. So
yeah,
um, you know, it probably seemed like an ideal time if he had another opportunity to take that other opportunity and to let somebody else kind of move Anthem into another phase. Um, so uh, Dragon Age didn't surprise me. I mean, it's always interesting to hear like the inside, like what's going on behind the curtain, so to speak. But
yeah.
um, just knowing what's been going on at BioWare, um, and I want to say, has this Dragon Age game been out for like it's been in development for a while, right? For some reason, I have like a negative impression of it, but I can't put my finger on any single story to tell me why I have that. And I don't know if it's just um, like I have a negative impression due to the most recent Bio Dragon Age game not doing well, or if this particular one has had um, development issues, or if it's just a matter of BioWare hasn't really had a good. BioWare's had a bit of a rough patch as far as their you know development in total recently. So um, from Andromeda and Anthem and whatnot. So it didn't surprise me as this. The one that really surprised me is the Halo Infinite one, Tim Longo, just because they've teased the game. It's obviously going to be like the um, the tentpole title, or like the showpiece title when the next Xbox launches. So you think that'd be at a point in its development, like a year out, where they're really driving home, or maybe it's just there isn't much like creative decision making to be made, and now it's like a matter of just hammering out the bugs and doing the last bit of polish. So I don't know. That one was more curious to me.
Yeah, well, at least in this article, in the Game Informer article for the Halo creative director Tim, we don't hear from him directly in this article. At least this is all coming from Bonnie Ross, that they're just confirming. Basically, Game Informer says, "Hey, did this guy leave?" And she's come back saying, "Yeah, he left. He departed the company." And and then she goes on with Mary Olson and all that. So I mean, I mean, maybe it was, I don't want to say getting pushed out, but maybe they let him go and they just, trying to be politically correct about it, or maybe he just left and he just
Yeah.
wants to, just go quietly, which is fine. I mean,
I
um,
guess obviously we don't have that much to go on, so I don't want to like speculate too much on the individuals. Like the thing that
yeah,
tied them all together and why I elected to bring them in is because there are three major IPs, right? Where somebody at the very top of that particular project has chosen to leave, and it made me think about AAA titles and how much pressure there is, I think, probably on these individuals. Like, we don't know if they left amicably or, were pushed out, like you said. But I think
right.
it's safe to say that they were probably all under an immense amount of pressure to make sure that these things are mega hits, right? I mean, you don't want to botch Halo. Dragon Age, they really need to resuscitate that franchise, and Anthem was supposed to be a Destiny 2 killer, right? I mean, they never came out and said that, but the way that the game was structured, um, it implied that it was supposed to be like a revenue producer for the next half decade, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you're not
at least on par with it.
right. So,
Yeah.
um, and I believe there was a story for Halo that there's going to be some sort of microtransactions, right? Did we have that in the rundown? But we're not really going to talk about it tonight. But point is, like, all these games, they're not designed to go out there and people throw down their $50 or $60, and then within 6 months the cycle moves on. These these tentpole games are supposed to be revenue producers for a number of years, and I can see like just you know you're putting forth a lot of put a time and thought into these things, and the studio wants to make sure that you're doing it right, and they're probably breathing down your neck, and I can see people getting kind of burning the candle at both ends, and there's probably stepping stones in every development cycle where it makes sense to, like Microsoft said, um, you know, roles and responsibilities evolve to meet the needs of a game through development. So, there might have been some exit ramps and just the grind of the AAA development cycle was enough. And it was just interesting to me that we saw three very high profile, I think, positions change like that.
Yeah, and I was going to say, if it was like a lot of people, and this was a thought I had before, we started the show, and before we started talking before the show, I was thinking, if this was all, multiple people leaving companies, which, okay, I guess in BioWare's case, yeah, it is. I mean, we had two lead producers leave. Maybe there was something to it, but like you said, we kind of had Anthem, and then even before that, you had Andromeda, which I think they might have been. I'm assuming it was two different teams that made those games, but still, you have that pressure, like you said, that we got to get this game going, and then Anthem, pretty much fell on its face at the beginning, at least. I'm assuming they're still in a community. I don't know. I mean, I hear the game's still going, and there might be DLC at some point, possibly. But yeah. And then as far as Dragon Age, I think it was just announced within the past year. I think at the Game Awards, maybe. I'm thinking they seem to always announce that type of game there, or that game there, at least the last couple times. With the new one here, and then Inquisition was the last one. I couldn't think of it until just now. But yeah, I mean, I think for now, I'm assuming everything's. I mean, all we can assume is it's going to be okay. I mean, it's only one. In Bioware's case too, but at least in Halo Infinite, it's only the one. I don't remember anybody else leaving recently from the 343 team that I can think of, or at least not higher profile like a creative director. So we'll just say we'll just have to see what happens as obviously as these games come out. But yeah, you're right. These are huge games. I mean, Halo is. I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, I think this one's kind of riding on the franchise, really. I mean, Halo Infinite, because 5 was received pretty well, pretty good, at least on the multiplayer side. But definitely the story, which was kind of Halo's, kind of bread and butter, more or less. I mean, yeah, the multiplayer too, but it was always kind of like half and half, at least. That both sides had an equal part of everybody was in good standing with it. And then the last one, definitely people did not like the single player campaign. Just the story itself was, I guess, I only played a little bit the beginning, so I can't really talk on it myself. But just people didn't like it, just the way it flowed, and just I guess some of the shenanigans with the initial reveal of 5, and then it was kind of they just kind of went away from that. Here's Master Chief. And this was like a tease, like way back in the day, of Master Chief in the desert with this big machine coming out, and then it comes back, and it's just like two Halo or two Spartan teams going at each other. It's like, well, where did this come from? Where did this story come from? What happened with Master Chief in the desert? So I think that kind of brought it on too. But like I said, I can't say either way, at least personally, just because I haven't gone through 5 all the way through. But I know it's definitely not one of the favorites of the Halo series for most people.
Funny you say that, because Tim Longo was the director of Halo 5 Guardians at 343.
Yeah.
So, no longer with 343. But if you were a developer, would you want to work on a new Halo? Would you want to be in charge of a new Halo, or would you want to work on a game like Golf Story? I know you love that game on the Switch, small scale game. Would you feel like, as a creative person, would you want to take like on a franchise, or to put it in like movie terms, would you want to helm like an Avengers movie, or would you want to do your own thing and tell your own story? Like what would get your creative juices flowing, and what would make you feel like, would you feel extra pressure if you had the additional burden? Like you said, Halo has a big legacy. Like, would you feel extra pressure from that, or would you embrace it because you're like like gung ho, like
Like you like that kind of pressure.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, me personally, I would go with smaller stories and the smaller type of game. But I mean, there's people that strive on that. That kind of thing drives them. They want to have this big, big budget, Avengers type thing, or all these other Star Wars and stuff like this, on their shoulders, and try to take it and maybe go to the next level. At least try to equal out what has been in the past. But I mean, he did. Like I said, he was on five, so maybe he's like, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe the pressure was getting too much. But like I said, we don't know for sure. At least with him, what happened. So uh, all we know is that he left. So
right.
we'll have to see.
Um, I will say, like, I kind of think I'd be with you. It's just like I think I'd have more fun if it was a smaller team and you can really just get your like I think that a place like Hello Games would be really fun to work at. Until the Sony money came in and then like all the expectations kind of came down. But up until then, it was just like we have this really cool concept, and we're a small team and we're friends and we're trying to make something cool. Like that would drive me, and I don't think having these massive budget games with like the level of expectation, and you're also kind of boxed in creatively with what you
Yeah,
can do.
with the
So
lower, yeah,
anyway, it may just be that like, hey, I want to go tell my own stories, uh, but all the you know, not sure in their individual cases, but in general, that's what it made me think about, which is why I wanted to talk about it.
yeah.
Um,
And we've seen that in the past. Obviously, like with maybe bigger names like Cliff Bleszinski. He went off and did his own thing. He didn't want to do Gears and what else is on there? Unreal Tournament or anything like that anymore. He wanted to tell his own story. So it didn't really work out, but I mean, at least he tried, and looks like maybe he might be coming back again. So we'll see. And you had a good point with Hello Games too. I mean, they there's supposedly this. Probably to them, it was just like a small game and something they can like fool around with, and then they got the money infusion, and that kind of fell apart. But now they're starting to get back on their feet and kind of
yeah,
just doing their own thing
but
again.
it feels
So
like they have that small team mentality now because it's just like you don't hear anything about it, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, by the way, we're going to do this big update. And everybody's like, oh, sweet, cool, thanks guys, and it's
yeah,
like this cool thing. So I don't know.
yeah, maybe they're just more lax now. So
Well, I guess if the bills are paid, it makes sense.
that's all right.
Um,
So we
you want
any other?
now?
Uh,
If you're ready, I'm ready to move on to the next
yeah, so we
story
have
in the
people
queue.
leaving, but now we got new games and studios coming in
New
to
games coming in.
yeah. So
So a week ago or a week or two ago, I don't remember anymore because every day blends into the next one.
oh boy, tell me
Um,
about it.
but Nintendo had the Indie World Showcase, and pretty much had a thing, highlight reels of games that are coming to the Switch. Um, one of which Microsoft published Ori and the Blind Forest to generate hype, no doubt, for the upcoming Ori and the Will o' the Wisps, which I don't think is coming to the Switch, but gets Ori in the zeitgeist. Um, let's see what else. Hotline Miami, Super Hot, Risk of Rain 2. I haven't heard that one. Torchlight 2, back from like PC, like 2012, right?
Yeah,
I don't remember if that came out on the PS4 or Xbox or anything.
yeah, it did.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh, Creature in the Well, which is like a dungeon crawler with pinball mechanics. Just so they
good
went through a
mashup.
bunch of games. Oh man, I didn't. I only saw some of these. The Tourist, a voxel puzzle adventure game, looks reminiscent of Star Tropics. It's kind of intriguing. Um, Voxels, of course, are like well,
Like the
the
boxy
easiest way.
characters, right?
Yeah, the
Or
easiest way
no?
to think about it is like Minecraft. Like you keep
Yeah,
digging and it keeps generating. Like that's what kind of voxels are. It's like instead of using um, you know, like eventually you have pixels around the scene, but like the world is composed of volumes, hence voxels, and it's like in theory they're destructible and can keep being generated. But what else? Northgard, the Viking strategy game, Trine 4. So if you've heard of the Trine series from Frostbite, I think they're called. A bunch of different things. But the thing that well, we definitely just want to touch base on some of the cooler stuff. Dungeon Defenders Awaken, which is a spin-off of the first game, according to this Kotaku article. Haven't heard of that, but I played a lot of Dungeon Defenders back on the PS3, and they have a cool slate. The thing that interested me most was the Ori announcement, mostly because I think if you remember, as we do Better One, Better Two at the optometrist office with Prime. Right now, I need new lenses. um, but the okay, I'm completely lost my train of thought now.
Sorry, I don't know why I did that all of a sudden. You can see my
think,
hand pretty well if I do
yeah,
that.
man, it's in super high res. But back several months back, they had something where there was like some talk where, hey, maybe Microsoft would want to put Game Pass on the Switch or stream to the Switch, or they were going to do some sort of partnershipy thing, and it was just like some rumors or wish casting, so to speak. But when I saw that, that's what it reminded me of, and oddly enough, soon after that, everybody's like, "Ooh, Ori's going to be on there," and well, there's a little bit of a downplay on that. So in a statement, I have this other article from NintendoLife.com. Microsoft has, quote, no plans to bring more first-party exclusives to other consoles. So in a statement provided to GamesIndustry.biz yesterday, Microsoft played down the idea of more games from Xbox studios coming across to other consoles. While this past year has been an exciting time for the company, moving forward it has no plans to further expand exclusive offerings to other systems. The main focus now is to make games for its own platforms with a handful of newly acquired titles. And the quote is, we continue to believe deeply in cross-play and progression of games with the right flexibility for developers to ensure a fair and fun experience. But before that, they mentioned, we have no plans to further expand our exclusive first-party games. So they had, this article notes, Obsidian with The Outer Worlds, Double Fine with Psychonauts 2, and Ninja Theory with Bleeding Edge. So I guess those were... Oh, they were mentioning the new studios that they were having. Yep. So those probably won't be coming. But Microsoft will still continue to support Minecraft across all platforms. That I saw this article. So Indie Showcase, they showed Ori. I saw this article and it's like, oh, that kind of dampens that thing. But last Friday from Gamescom, head of gaming services Ben Decker said at Gamescom to Game Reactor, we would like to see Game Pass on all platforms ultimately, and I think that is a long-term goal. We don't have any specific plans today, but we would love to see Game Pass really go everywhere. So, for me, the highlight of the Indie Showcase was Ori, because I'm looking forward to the Will-O-the-Wisps, even though I've never played the franchise. But it's kind of coming in at a weird time with Xbox and Nintendo, with Microsoft and Nintendo, because like on the one hand, seems like there's a push to get more cooperation, and on the other hand, they're like, we don't really want to bring anything else to other consoles. So that's what stuck out to me. I get maybe not wanting to publish directly on the other consoles, and probably maybe the Game Pass would be a better partnership, because then you're kind of using the Switch is just less of a you're not giving a lot of revenue, as much revenue to Nintendo. It's just like your portal into your thing. So I can see that being a more amenable arrangement with Microsoft, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I thought there was another one actually. I thought recently that had just come out too. Can't remember the name. It was like a little fox character or something. I thought that had come out on the Switch too. Maybe I was just thinking it was, um, but yeah, I know they always had that rumor that that Game Pass was going to come to Switch, and maybe one day, who knows? But I'm trying to find this game now. Lucky's Tale, that's what it's called, but I'm trying to see if it ever came to the Switch or not. I'll look at that for a second in a little bit, but yeah, I guess the one game that kind of caught my eye here was Skater XL, which is early access. It's currently on early access on PC. Just skating game, it kind of looks like old school Tony Hawk, so I just thought that was kind of cool. And it's supposed to come out on the Switch sometime next year, so I think they had a little video for it too, and it looked pretty cool. It kind of reminded me of what was it? I think it was just Skate. It was called from EA a few years ago. I think they brought out 2, maybe 3 altogether skates. Just kind of like zoomed in kind of look when you're like right on the skateboarder, and you could just do tricks or whatever. So I don't know. It looked kind of cool. I was just kind of interested in that. I never played Dungeon Defenders, so I don't know. There's the one called What the Golf, which is a golfing game. What it says here is a golfing game for people who actually can't stand it. So sounds interesting. Sounds like my type of game, I suppose. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that came in here. Cat Quest, if you're into cats, I suppose. One Finger Death Punch 2, which I think was like a stick fighter. I think you're like stick fighters in that game, if I remember correctly. Don't remember exactly, but
it does say it's minimalist.
Yeah, it's minimalist. So, but yeah, there was a lot of cool little games here. And I saw Trine, and I saw what was the other one you had mentioned? Torchlight. And I didn't realize. I guess those aren't like indie games. I suppose. I always thought they were kind of a big deal when they came out on the other systems.
I think they were a big deal, but I mean they're big companies, but it's not like Frostbite. It's not. Is it Frostbite? Frozen Bite is owned by Sony or something like that. So in a sense, they're still indie in that they publish their own stuff, I think.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, and Torchlight 2 I've heard good things about for a long time, and it's always been like, I should probably pick that up sometime, and then never happens.
Yeah, I was heard that it's better. It's a better Diablo game than Diablo, supposedly, from what I've seen. But I don't know.
I thought it was first person.
I'm sorry. Which one did you say? Torchlight or Trine?
Torchlight 2.
I thought it was
maybe
isometric. I thought. Yeah, because even here it says Diablo-like game from 2012, Torchlight 2.
Yeah. What's the one that's? I gotta be thinking of a different game then. I've seen Torchlight 2, but there's another one that's kind of in that vein. Well, it's not really in that vein because it's first person, but it's a fantasy indie game with a decent backing.
Yeah.
Trine is like it's almost like a platformer.
Oh, okay.
With puzzles kind of mixed in. It's like 2.5D. It's 3D environment, but you're going side to side.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And Super Lucky Tale, that's what I was thinking of. That was Microsoft. It originally came out on Microsoft and has come out on the Switch recently. So it's kind of a platformer. I don't know if they're trying to do like their version of like a Mario game or something, but that's what I guess it was okay. Like it wasn't anything special, but they brought it on the Switch, so see, I don't know. Maybe one day I'll pick it up on sale or something. But so from the Switch and Nintendo, let's jump over to Microsoft. So Gamescom was last week and weekend, I believe, and they had their Inside Xbox show, which they do, I believe, once a quarter, where they made a bunch of announcements. I'll try to run through some of them here really quick. They have some new Game Pass games coming up. Devil May Cry 5, which is the newest one. Stellaris Console Edition. Of course, Age of Empires Definitive Edition. That'll be just on the PC side so far, which I kind of wish they'd have it on Xbox, but we'll see. I suppose, well, I mean, I got Game Pass too, so I mean, I can always play it on my PC. I don't think it's too intensive for my one PC, but we'll see. Ape Out and Kingdom Come Deliverance will be coming out this month. Also, actually just came out today is Bard's Tales 4. I'm sorry. Yeah, Bard's Tales 4 Director's Cut came out today. We got Blair Witch when it comes out on August 30th. Will be on both PC and console. And Humans Fall Flat is getting some free new level coming out. Actually, just came out today also. See, Gears Pop that came out actually on the 22nd, so earlier in the week or last week, I believe. I believe DB said he had played that. He didn't really say if he liked it or not, so we'll have to get his impressions hopefully on the next GX show. So that's kind of a player versus player strategy game. Trying to think of the game he had mentioned. Was it crap? I can't remember now. It's kind of another like iOS game and Android game that kind of that same vein, kind of style strategy game. But that's like I said, iOS, Android, and Windows 10. No Xbox, kind of weird. I thought maybe that would come out on there, but we also still have Gears Tactics that's supposed to be coming out at some point within, I'm assuming, the next year. We got potentially a battle royal type game mode coming for Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which is coming out this fall, called Ghost War. PUBG is going to have cross play between PS4 and Xbox. So that's coming out sometime in October. That'll be an update.
You're gonna.
That's right.
When's the last time you played PUBG?
Oh man, it's been I think I tried it out earlier in the year just because I hadn't played it for a while, and I only played like a couple of games just because I needed something to play really quick. So, I shouldn't say really quick. Battle royale games are like at least a half hour, but I died pretty quick. Let me say that because it had been a while. So it's probably been like 4 or 5 months now since the last time I played it. So might bring me back. I don't know. We'll see. And we have 2 new Xbox controllers, the Night Ox and Sport Blue. Obviously, that one's blue. The Night Ox is kind of a camouflage. I think it was kind of like a purplish color, maybe, if I remember correctly. We got Empire of Sin, which has a release window of spring of next year, 2020.
Yeah, that's John. No, the id Software. Romero, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's him and his wife or something that are making that game, right? It's like the XCOM of 1930s gangsters or something.
Yeah, like the gangster. Yeah, because I think they showed that actually for the. I thought they showed that one for the Switch too. Well, I mean, I guess it's not exclusive. That could just be for all platforms. But yeah, you're right. Which I thought was kind of interesting. Just that type of game in that kind of era. Yeah, 1920, 20s or 30s
like,
gangster
I'm trying
era.
to think how many games. Like, it feels like that might be an untapped. That seems like an untapped. Times, an untapped era for gaming.
Time period.
Yeah. We have.
We
had that one where it's like L.A. Noir, or whatever.
Yeah, from Rockstar.
Trying to think if there were others.
I thought there was another. Well, I guess I'm probably thinking of the Godfather game, but I don't think that was that late. That time period. I thought there was another. I thought it was like an open world game. I was kind of set in that era, maybe, or maybe it was like
a GTA clone set that time at some point, but
yeah, that one did look interesting, just because it was like, you don't see a lot of games, like you said, you don't see a lot of games from that era, so this would be pretty cool, and it's XCOM strategy, so who knows, it might be good. I've been trying to get into those type of games, but we'll see. They announced their XO19, their fan event. It's going to be in London on November 14th. So you'll have all the big wigs of Xbox. Phil Spencer obviously is going to be there. I'm sure Major Nelson will be there. Metro Exodus, the 2 Kernels DLC is coming out August. Well, actually, it already came out August 20th. And then finally, they showed off Gears 5 Horde mode, where you get. I guess the players will have ultimates. This is what they're calling ultimates. They'll have special abilities, basically. So you'll have like invisibility, X-ray vision, calling airstrikes. So just basically special abilities for, I'm assuming, each character type. I believe that was also the same mode and they don't have it here, surprisingly, but where they announced kind of a Halo crossover. So I think you'll have some Halo. I don't know if you'll have Master Chief, but I think there's some. I think it was Halo Reach, maybe Halo Reach players in there that you can use, which I'm assuming will have their own abilities. I'm pretty sure it was Horde mode, but I know there's a crossover there coming to Gears 5 and Halo. So,
how much are you into game crossover or like marketing tie-ins for games?
I mean, I don't really get swayed. Like if I see something like that, like I like Halo, but I'm not really into Gears. But I was just like, okay, that's cool. So yeah, it doesn't really sway me usually.
Yeah, you
Although
don't.
Fortnite does that a lot. Like they just announced a crossover with Borderlands. They've done. I guess they haven't done really a lot of games. I suppose.
I know they
I think
did
that's the
the
first.
Avengers, right? Like back in
Yeah, they did like the
1991.
Avengers mode and skins. They've done John Wick. They've done basketball themed stuff with the NBA.
Oh, that's
Uh,
right. Forgot about that.
yeah,
They must have done
they did
NFL,
soccer
I think.
too. Yeah, they've done NFL. I think they did something during the Super Bowl last year or this year. I suppose for last season. Um, they did something for the World Cup, I believe. I think that was like their first year, or maybe. Well, I think they did the Women's World Cup too this year. Just throwing soccer skins and emotes and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean it's fine. It's not a big deal for me. I don't find it, like I have to run out and I don't have to run out and buy gears now just because it has Halo guys in there. So I don't know. Does that ever like sway you at all, or
I mean, it doesn't sway
if it's
me.
in a game that you have, it's like cool.
If it's a person I like, it's cool. If it's not a person I like, it's this crass marketing ploy, super cynical.
Yeah.
So when
Uh,
Solid Snake is in Smash Brothers, thumbs up. But when Borderlands 3 is in Fortnite, it's just a sign of the deterioration of the culture.
well, I have my own thoughts on that, but I'll keep those for later. I'm not going to go into that right now. And I think that was pretty much it. They had I skipped one thing real quick here. NBA 2K20 has a bunch of celebrities, I suppose. That's going to be in. I'm assuming the career mode. Oh yeah, it says career mode here. So you got Idris Elba.
It's
There's Rosario
Heimdall.
Dawson, and there's. Well, I'm sorry.
Heimdall, right? Is that right?
Heimdall. Yeah,
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Rosario Dawson, and I guess there's other famous people that are going to be sprinkled throughout the story. And I don't know if they're going to actually, I'm assuming they're going to just be characters in the game and not celebrities. Maybe I don't know. It doesn't really say. So at least not on this quick article. But
I think it'd be kind of an. Well, let me put it this way: if Idris Elba is an NBA 2K20 as Idris Elba, I think that'd be like a really interesting story mode.
well, I mean, your NBA, you go to parties and stuff. I suppose
It's true.
you. I'm trying to run through the trailer right here, but I don't really see. Oh, see, I saw Mark Cuban there. All right, so
Maybe he buys a franchise.
yeah, he buys you,
Yeah.
so you can be the next franchise. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the Xbox. Why don't you bring us on to good old Google Stadia, though? What do we got coming up for them?
I found my tab because now I have like stuff for like the Bard's Tale, Steam open
You're
up.
looking up stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So we've done Nintendo. We've done Xbox. So next would be PlayStation, according to logic. May we have Google Stadia. So
I like to mix things up.
they had an event at Gamescom, and with Stadia coming out in November, they wanted to show off some games that are coming. So they announced two games. Two of the games would be Borderlands 3, as we've said, we've been referring to, and The Elder Scrolls Online. Other games include Darksiders Genesis, Destroy All Humans 3, and by the way, I got this from Game Informer, Andrew Reiner's article. Um, Borderlands 3, excuse me, Destroy All Humans 3, Mortal Kombat 11, Super Hot Farming Simulator 19, so put that on your calendar, Prime. Samurai Showdown, Grid, Doom Eternal, Attack on Titan 2, which I'm assuming is based off the anime,
Yeah.
Windjammers 2, and Kine, which I've never heard of. Um, so that struck me as oh, and they've also announced support for 2020 games Cyberpunk 2077 and Watch Dogs Legion.
Yes.
That what interests me about this article is the fact that Stadia is not they're coming, I think, to play. uh, no pun intended. Kind of intended, but and those are some pretty big titles. When they first really like went with the details and they announced like I don't know if they announced it or Bungie kind of announced it at the same time, but Destiny 2 was like the big game that they were going to be having, right? And I kind of thought, okay, well they got a partnership with one big company. we might see mostly second tier titles and indie stuff, but they're and they had the obviously they had Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I think, right? Because that was done through the trial. But
Yeah.
um, for some reason, I just kind of assumed that it would take a little while before a lot of the other big publishers, big titles, would end up on the platform until maybe it kind of had vetted itself a little bit more. But I guess that was rather pessimistic on my part because they seem to be able to be presenting themselves as a viable platform to play modern games on. It's not going to be like a second tier thing. So that's good for Google and good for some of the early adopters.
Yeah, I mean, I think that maybe some people kind of forgetting that part of it. Like, yeah, they have all these, all these games are going to be or are on other platforms now, other consoles and PC and stuff. But if these companies, didn't think there was something there, they're definitely not going to go, full bore into it. I mean, you got a bunch of Ubisoft games and a bunch of Bethesda games. So, I mean, obviously they see something with the technology and what Google's doing. So, and hopefully at some point we'll start to see the same thing with XCloud because I'm assuming their beta or test is still supposed to be coming out this fall. They haven't really said anything else about it since E3, but obviously these companies see something there, so they're not just going to throw money away and say, okay, yeah, let's just port. I guess that's still contention. Like, is this just like PC build? I'm assuming that they're throwing on there, or I mean,
I want
it's
to
just a
say
layer
that
of
there
the
was a
Google.
I want to say there was a little bit. I don't remember. There's a part of my brain that's telling me there was a story somewhere that said there's a little bit more to porting the game than
Yeah,
just like it's not like they have Windows 10 running in the background um, with the Steam client that we just connect through
that they just
the
layer Google on top of.
yeah. So I
Yeah, I
think
know,
there's a
and
little
I know
bit more
we've talked
there.
about it too, and I don't know if we ever actually, like I said, maybe there's an article I don't remember, though, unfortunately, right now. So I don't know. It's just weird. And I guess the other thing too that the article brings up is a couple of games, Doom and Mortal Kombat. Uh, although I'm assuming Doom Eternal. I know the first, well, not obviously the first Doom, but the reboot Doom had a multiplayer. I don't know if they've said. I think they are going to have some kind of multiplayer component with Doom Eternal, and obviously, Mortal Kombat. If you're going online, is that going to? Supposedly, it's supposed to play well. Even multiplayer games.
And Doom Eternal is the upcoming one.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it hasn't come out yet. And then even Borderlands 3. I mean, that's co-op at least multiplayer, but still, I mean, you don't want to be, sitting there with your friend, and all of a sudden you're like glitched, like,
Right.
5 miles, in game, behind him, all of a sudden, or in front of him, and you get killed because the thing messes up or something like that. And I know these are the newer games that they've announced, and even Samurai Showdown 2. It's another fighting game, but some of the other games previously, like let's say Call of Duty, not Call of Duty. Ghost Recon and even oh man, mine's blanking. What's the other Ubisoft game? The online shooter, the Destiny like
Division.
Division. I kept wanting to say District. Yeah, Division 2. Those are supposed to come out too. So I mean, now granted, those aren't super fast shooters, but still, I mean they're shooters, and you have to you want to have low latency and all that. So we'll have to see on that end if they can pull that off. Now I don't know. I don't think they said these aren't launch titles, right? They're just going to come out at some point. I don't even think they said these are day and date with the other games,
Uh, the one that I looked up was
or the
Borderlands
newer
3,
ones.
and it's supposed to be a day one thing.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Borderlands comes out before Stadia does, right? Borderlands is next month, I think.
Yeah, I think it's next month. Yeah, it's pretty soon.
So
Yeah, and Stadia's not until November. I'm
something.
not even sure if they gave an exact date. Yeah, something for the what do they call it? I would say the trial edition, not the trial edition. I can't remember what they called it, but the kind of like
The
you
Founders
know
Edition bundle.
Founders edition. Yeah. So
November. Oh wait, what? It literally says November 2019 without a date on this article.
Well, maybe that's all they get. So,
So maybe
all right.
we're not
So,
incredibly ill prepared. We're actually
sometime in November.
we're actually remembering it correctly.
Yeah. But yeah, well, I mean, we'll have to see how how that's going to
Wolfenstein
go.
Youngblood. I didn't
Yep.
know that one was coming. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they had any kind of multiplayer component to it, either co-op or whatever. I don't remember. I haven't played a Wolfenstein game, so at least
It's
recently.
it's been about a year for me. I kind of bounced off New Colossus and kind of regret that. It's in Xbox for PC Games Pass, so I gotta
Oh, nice.
get it at some point. But
You have no excuse.
well, I do have one excuse. It takes forever on my cruddy internet connection
Oh, yeah, I guess
to
that's
download
true.
anything. Anytime I want to like download like a big PC game like that, I basically take my PC to work and start the download,
Totally.
and then like go to the grocery store, and then go back into my office and pick it up. But yeah. Anyway, there is
Yeah,
no
so
apparently there's no official release date yet.
yeah. Well, even with
And
that, I
when
guess.
Gasicles listens to this podcast, he's gonna like he'll be correcting us because I know he's like super champing at the bit to play
Yeah,
to play on Stadia. It's like
yeah.
in
So am I.
his
I'm still. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just like this is in his like gaming hardware nexus wheelhouse. Like it's like a merging of two of his loves, like hard, uh, like tech gadgets and gaming.
Yeah, yeah. I know he was still pretty excited. I know DB was starting to cool off a little. So I don't know if he was still going to stick with his pre-order or not. But I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to see. I'm going to see it through. I mean, this might be a way for me to play, these games on my PC without actually having a PC, a super duper, fast PC. So, um, but um, how was I say? Oh, also Elder Scrolls Online. I mean, that's an MMO. Obviously, there's going to be I don't know, hundreds, I guess, I suppose, of players on the servers and stuff. I don't know how that, how it sections it off, but
Yeah,
that'll be it.
it'd be interesting to see how. Uh, you almost wonder if like if you're running it in the cloud, if that would allow more like I don't want to say what's the best way to say, like a denser like experience. So like right now, you know, your your internet connection can only do so much to connect, right? So in theory, the game developers have to throttle that a little bit because they're like, we can't have 1,000 people's updates streaming to somebody that doesn't have super good internet. But if everything's in the same data center, right? Like, I mean, you're having like 10 gig fiber or more or whatever, like on the back end. That's not a limitation anymore.
Yeah.
So that'd be just had that random thought pop into my head.
Yeah, and I think that was one of their major talking points too. That in the future they can have instead of 64, excuse me, or like 100, populated person servers, it could be hundreds of people or even thousands of people,
Okay, so
doing.
they did mention that then.
Yeah, they did
Okay.
mention that during their presentation that and that was a future thing obviously, but still, I mean, this is a good benchmark for um, the Elder Scroll Online. So, and even I guess to a lesser extent, I guess the Division Two also. So we'll see. So that is Stadia. You want to bring us home with Sony? I know the order is wrong. The order is incorrect. But and
Breaking
this is not
news.
necessarily it's not necessarily games. I guess coming up, but it's a little bit different, but in the same vein.
So, about a week or two ago, uh, the news broke. Sony buys Insomniac Games, and of course, most recently, of Spider-Man PS4 fame. Uh, quite frankly, I didn't really get that worked up over this because I was like always associated Insomniac with kind of PS4 anyway. Um, so now they're definitely locked down to be exclusive, but it wasn't anything that I felt like was a big surprise, a la Psyonix going to Epic, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I think I guess it was a little bit bigger deal for me than Psyonix, just because I guess technically, yeah, they might bring out stuff on Epic Games, but I think Epic will, still let you, kind of like Microsoft when they bought, Minecraft. They'll still let you, play Rocket League and maybe future games if they create more games or different games. But yeah, maybe it'll just be on the Epic Store, or might be a timed exclusive or something like that. But
But I mean,
uh,
were you like with Spider-Man, for example? I mean, I guess there might be something because like Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man, right? Like in movies at least. Uh, did did you always feel like that was the one limiting thing, and that was the only reason why that game wasn't multi-platform? Like, I mean, why would Insomniac limit themselves to one platform if they could make money on all the platforms? If Sony wasn't already
well,
like a super strong influence in their company.
well, yeah, I mean that's the thing. If it was just Insomniac Games, then yeah, maybe they would have gone multi-plat. But and that was my kind of thing, and I tweeted that out to Gascles was like, okay, I was like, oh man, this is a big deal, and he's like, why? I was like, well, we're probably not going to see a Spider-Man game on anything else potentially in the near future, maybe on PC. They do PC ports too sometimes
Mm-hmm.
on some games, but more than likely the Spider-Man license is going to be locked down with Insomniac, or just even within Sony itself, possibly, since obviously we had that big excuse me, we had that big hubbub about Spider-Man breaking off of the MCU, and obviously that's movie and stuff, but still, they obviously had the license here with Insomniac. So, I've always enjoyed the Spider-Man games. Back in the day, on all the different systems. There was multi-plat at that point. I think that was Activision had it back then, the license for Spider-Man. But I mean,
I don't remember.
that's just my thinking. That I'm assuming it's going to be locked down in Sony now,
Yeah,
obviously, since
I just
you
I
know.
remember looking at like just to get it to refresh my mind about what some of the past games were, and it confirmed my thought was like I just like always associated them with Sony. It's like they had Spyro originally, they did Ratchet and Clank, they
Mhm.
did now I'm trying to think if Ratchet has even moved on from Sony recently. Um, but they did Resistance: Fall of Man, which was that like alien type thing, I think. But it was I remember it being a PS3 exclusive.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, let's see, a few other little things, but it's I've always kind of it didn't surprise me. That's all.
No, yeah. I mean, I wasn't surprised as far as just the company itself. They did. That's the only other than Spiral that I can think of that when I'm looking through the games here that they did that was multi-plat was Sunset Overdrive, and actually that was only on Xbox. They did a exclusive Xbox game, I should
Mm.
say, not even a multi-plat, um, which is kind of like a I wouldn't say open world, maybe just like big area world that you can kind of like jump around in, and there's these like mutant things that are like hopped up on like some kind of energy drink or something like that. I played a little bit of it because I think it's on Game Pass right now, or it was. I don't know if it still is. Um, but it was a pretty cool game, and a lot of people thought it was kind of a even back then, even before they had Spider-Man, it was kind of a cool Spider-Man-like game. Even though you weren't swinging, but you're kind of still jumping around and kind of like uh, what was that one roller skating game back on like the I think it was an Xbox and then the
Oh, I know what you're
Dreamcast.
talking about.
Yeah, that you kind of like skate around and like grind on stuff and stuff like that. So you did a lot of that, a lot of
Oh,
grounding.
that's gonna bug me now.
And, Jet Set Radio or Jet
Yeah.
Set, whatever. It was a couple different games, but yeah, I mean, it was just, but yeah, it was just the Spider-Man thing that kind of always bummed me out. You know, if I ever wanted, the one reason I would get a PS4 would be because of that Spider-Man game. So I mean, that might still be the same, in the future. So who
So
knows? I mean, obviously, it's probably going to change
so
since it.
like moving forward, because this is what I'm gonna ask. I think as we get closer and closer to our E2KG end of year kind of super show. Um,
Extravaganza.
Next year is going to be kind of a a light year, I'd expect, right? Because we got Sony and Microsoft both um, having new consoles coming out towards the end of 2020, right? I know Xbox is. That's when
Yeah.
Halo Infinite, and I believe that's when Sony announced that they're going to roughly be doing the PlayStation 5, right?
Yep.
So we're not going to see super, we're going to see fewer and fewer big titles for those platforms coming, and I just feel like it's going to be a lighter year. So I'm kind of looking forward to that because it's going to be the year of the backlog for me, and I want to just catch up on the stuff. But for you, it might be something where you can buy a cheaper-ish used PS4 on eBay and pick up some of these titles that you've missed. Um, uh, you know, without since you haven't had a PS4, like I can at least some of these things from Xbox do wind their way to PC, so I still have an avenue to play them.
Yeah.
You don't have that luxury, so
No. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's always a possibility too. To do something like that. I don't know. It's the thought of buying a PS4 when there's a new Xbox still coming out. It's like I don't know. But I mean, we don't even know what that looks like, and what the uh, launch titles for that or the PS5. Say it hasn't been official yet.
they did say that Infinite was the launch title, right?
Well, yeah. Besides
I thought
Infinite,
they
yeah,
said that.
for Xbox, but we don't know what's coming for PlayStation yet, or even other games. I wonder if both of these companies are going to try to take a book out of Nintendo's first year and have that for one or two big titles right at launch or within the launch window, and then kind of parse out throughout the following year, or maybe like 6 to 9 months, with kind of sprinkled big titles, once a month or so. It worked out for them, so
I was wanting
we'll
to
see.
say Horizon Zero Dawn 2, but I think I saw an article that said that wasn't coming in for like till 2021 or 2022.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
They still have what's the Last of Us 2? Is it 2 or
yeah, it's the last.
that
Yeah,
has?
yeah, it's 2.
Because I don't think there's been a release date for that yet, has there? That I know of.
Uh,
So that could potentially
the
be a
hard
launch
part
title.
was they didn't really have much of a thing at E3 this year. They had that like
Yeah,
side whatever it was.
yeah,
Um,
like they're direct.
right.
Yeah,
I don't remember what the release date would be, or if they've even announced one yet.
yeah.
It might be
So
this
yeah,
spring.
so I mean that's just kind of a big question mark. Like, what are they going to have? Obviously, we know Xbox is going to have Halo, but what is PlayStation going to have? And just, I mean, other than just obviously the regular third parties, I'm sure Call of Duty will be on there, and what added and all that. But first party stuff.
Right. I don't know. This is currently unknown.
Oh, for the Last of Us.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's always a possibility. Oh, they could always do like a um, Breath of the Wild and kind of have it on
Yeah.
both
I never
PS4 and
I never really understood that because you'd think you'd want your big title to move systems, but
yeah. It worked.
yeah.
Well, at least for Nintendo, twice actually, because they did that. They did that with Twilight
No,
Princess
but
too.
the thing is, nobody. That's true, but in both instances, um, the previous console had not been popular.
It's true. Yeah.
So,
So,
all right. Yeah, I don't like. There's so many PS4s out there. It'd be almost like you want to give them a reason to move up rather than stick with their current.
yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I mean, you got a PS4 Pro, and they put Last of Us 2 out on the PS4. I mean, you still have a 4K thing. It's just, oh well, what does the PS5 give you if it's like slightly enhanced visuals? I can't imagine they'd be incredibly different, and then faster load times. So is that enough to justify $500 launch purchase?
Yeah, I find it kind of weird that they even want to bring out a new console now. I mean, obviously PS4 is still doing gangbusters. I mean, I'm sure, yeah, it's slowing down a little bit now, but um, I don't know. It just seems like they're still selling pretty well. So I don't know if they really need to do it right now, or if they just said, they kind of want to go, have PS4 go out on a high note and say, all right, we're cutting this off and we're moving on to the PS5 or whatever it's called, most likely PS5. But I don't know. I just always thought that was strange. It kind of makes sense, obviously, for Microsoft to have a new console coming out.
Right.
It's been what, 5 years? It'll be 6 years next year, right? When these consoles come out, I'm assuming, or 5 years.
I don't recall.
Probably, I'm assuming it's the very least five. So I mean, they're kind of working off the older generations
October
model.
2013, so 6 years.
Okay, 6 years. So yeah, I mean, I
Or
think the old
November
consoles were
2013.
were like 5 or 6 years back in the
Yeah,
day. So
it's about the same
yeah, I
price.
think there's everything got screwed up with the last generation. PS3 and 360 were that ran longer than usual.
It's mostly just about like, I mean, are the enhancements going to be enough to justify the investment? So,
Yeah,
are people willing to plop down an extra $400 or $500 for faster load times? I mean, I mean the visuals are going to be better, but when you're touting, oh, it can do up to 8K, like I don't care, because I don't have anything I can put that on. So,
I
um,
don't even know if the visuals are even. I mean, I know they're kind of touting the visual stuff and all that, but I mean, do people even really care about that anymore? I mean, I shouldn't say anymore, but from PS4, Xbox One to the next leap up, I don't think it's going to be that drastic,
yeah,
and I don't even think it was really that drastic between the past two generations.
yeah, I go back and play PS3 games, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I can see things have gotten better, but like you said, it's not anything where it's upsetting. And you look at games like Fortnite, you know, which are kind of somewhat limited in visuals, right? Because they're not just playing on high-end consoles; they're playing on mobile and stuff. So it's like,
Yeah,
um, I don't think it's as important as it had been in the past. Although, I guess people are going to want like Halo Infinite to look as good as it possibly can, but it's at some point we're kind of you're getting we're probably going to be reaching a point where the money it takes to invest to get like all the last minutia of those details perfect, is that really worth you know the time and effort?
yeah.
And the game fan in me says nay. So
Yeah, I want the old technology where you can, map yourself into a game, like in Rainbow Six and
like
all the sports games.
what was the uh, Game Boy Game Boy camera?
Yeah,
If you remember, back when they were first touting, I think it was Perfect Dark. There was some attachment that they had, I think for the N64 controller or something. That was like a camera. And I want to say that some initial like show off to the like industry insiders, they were literally showing you could take a picture of your face and map it to the to your character in like an N64 game.
yeah, yeah. And like I said, they did that. I think it was Rainbow Six Vegas because I remember doing that. I had this little bobblehead Hulk figure that I actually mapped onto like my character. So they have to do like I think these quirky things like I said, load times, and they really got to work on AI in these games because sometimes it's just like atrocious or just like they're just like dummies basically just kind of standing there. I mean they gotta obviously you don't want to make it too smart or they can do all kinds of different maneuvers if it's like a shooter or something. But I mean, you kind of have to make it a little difficult, not just here you put on easy and it's you have like one or two people on screen. You put it on hard and they basically just like throw in like a whole army at you. That's not really. I mean, yeah, it's hard, but it's not AI hard. It's just they're just throwing a whole bunch of people that unless you have mounds of ammunition, you're not going to be able to get through. So
I can
that's
I can say in Fire Emblem, switching from normal, to hard mode, I did notice that tactically the enemy was being smarter about
yeah.
how they were approaching me with their units, so I couldn't pick them off one at a time easily without getting. They had people to cover their people. Let's put it that way. So
All right.
we're past the 1 hour mark.
Yes, I just noticed that myself. So we'll wind it down here. I think that was it. Any other comments on any we talked about tonight?
Nope. I
That's
didn't.
it.
I thought we were gonna have like a half-hour show, and it's over an hour.
Me too. That's all right. We go on tangents and stuff. That happens. And I didn't even go into my Borderlands stuff. That would have really put us over. But I think we'll end it here for right now. That's episode number 108 in the books for tonight. Please join us next Tuesday for E2KG episode 109, which will go back into our GX experience. And I think we'll have a lot of different games this time around that we're talking about here. And like I said, we had Gears Pop, and I've been playing a little bit more varied things just because I'm kind of slowing down a little bit on Fortnite. So I'll have a little bit more variety, I think, this time around. And I got to get going on my Civ 6 for our picks plays. So I want to play a little bit more of that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So please check us out. I think we'll have the three of us again the next week. I think a guest is still going to be out for a little bit. So it'll be me, Swiss, and DBQ, hopefully. So thank you for watching. Please, if you have any comments, comment in the YouTube comments or when we get the video up. And please have a good night and keep on gaming. Thanks, everybody.